talking about.
Yep. Okay.
So now it's setting up, and we should actually be live on YouTube. Yeah, because we go live on YouTube before this thing tells me we are. So here we are live on YouTube, and here we are with your book. Can you see the book now still? Or I
No.
have to, no, okay, because I had to leave. Ta-da! So we will share the book. This is one thing I do appreciate is that there's so many possibilities of things that we can do. All right. Says now I'm screen sharing. Can you see?
There you go. Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. Well, continue on, my friends. So go ahead, Sharon. What were you going to say?
No. Oh, okay. What I was going to say is that when he's asking this question, like he's saying, it's the initial belief in separation. And we now act out our roles to keep the initial belief alive. But we don't even, well, I should say, I don't even know that I'm doing that. I don't stop. I don't remember. So what I'm looking at now in me is how much either that the I am presence wants to is afraid of love, or how much I'm listening to the mind that's not me. And it's all of those things. But when I'm not conscious that I really want this, like if you don't, the way I see it and the way I've been, kind of getting, either a download or stuff from, Ken Wapnick, is that our really deep, deep hatred is at the bottom. Like it's just not. So when things start to come up, they come up so quickly. And, you know, for me, it's got to be that I let him lead the way. There's no more. I can't. It's just it's like if you're addicted to a drug, and it's so hard to stop something because this mind body goes very quickly. It's just this rapid type of brain and ear connection. So because let's face it, we are really on a you know it's like an audio kind of thing that is set up already because it's over. So we're just reviewing even our voices, because everything is just a movie. There's nothing alive here but aliveness. Aliveness is what we are. We are the son of God. We're in costumes, but we're that. So he says here, this is something I had always thought when I would see my boys when they were little, when I had to leave them. So this is an answer from Ken. Whatever we see in our children is what we see in ourselves. So there was a very deep part of loneliness for the little girl that I played. And so when I would see my boys, because I'm projecting and I'm interpreting everything, I'm seeing the past and I'm seeing past pain. And the lesson is why? Why have I not learned the lesson? I cannot be in pain. I am invulnerable. So when you look at that, it's like, wow, I am scared. But who's scared? The I am is never scared. It's the ego. So the trickster will go and twist me all in different ways. So what I'm going to say is the sadness would come on me when I'd see my boys sometimes if they had an expression. And I would say, I felt this way before. Now, as course students, we know that the things that are coming up, they're coming up on an emotional level to heal. But we want to know how, or I want to know how, why, and I want to know how to stop it. That's not what this process is about. It's about the flow of the wrong and right ideas. And it brings you to finally unity. So he goes on, and I'm just going to turn it over to either one of you before proceeding any further. That is just where I stopped, I believe. So who wants the mic?
I'll read.
Okay. Did you freeze?
So I don't know. Are you still there, Marcy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry. Whatever I thought Sharon read some of that.
he read a little bit of
Okay,
it.
so where am I
I,
starting?
Just start out from the beginning again.
Okay. Whatever we see in our children is what we see in ourselves. As your words reflect, if we see a rejected, angry child, we see something we are not looking at in ourselves that we have projected. Before proceeding any further, let me clarify a point that has confused many students of A Course in Miracles, leading them to turn the concepts and their application upside down. When the Course talks about perception, it does not refer to what our eyes see, but to the interpretation of what is seen. The issue, therefore, is not that our children feel rejected, but that we believe they are rejected. What the mind does with what our eyes see. In any relationship, each of the persons involved is both persons because everything is an externalization of the mind's thoughts. Should I keep going?
I was going to say, explain that to me because my
No.
ego blocks it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, which part from the issue is that the issue is not that our children feel rejected, but that we believe they are rejected. So
Okay.
what
What the
I
mind does. Yeah.
yeah, but I've put my meaning about myself onto my kids. So I feel
Yes, I do too.
rejected. I feel rejected by my kids or my this or my that, but I see them as the rejected ones.
Right. That's it. It's because it's always me.
It's me.
So
So
if I
you're
heal
just
that in me, yeah,
yeah,
if I can heal, and the thing he's saying, it's like when you're with your husband or whoever, friend, and you're both like actually like one person. So when you're really angry with them, it goes back on you because there's only
yeah,
oneness here. So you always hurt yourself
yeah,
whenever you judge, which is a very hard thing. Ken was saying, something like Jesus isn't saying not to judge. He's saying that you don't want to keep it.
yeah.
You don't want to like what I
Yeah,
do
you're
is
gonna
like,
judge. You're gonna judge, period.
right. You're going to judge. That's the mind, unless you're done with the ego. But
Right.
you're going to not keep it. Like, okay, a typical example is, you know, just kind of like chewing on it because you believe you're unworthy. You believe you're bad. You
Yeah.
believe down to the core that you had separated from a creator that we depend on. I mean, if we were in the creator's mind, we couldn't do this because we're one with the creator, but we are not the creator. And that's God, that had to get in me because a lot of other spiritual texts, Eastern, believe that we are God. And yeah, we're the God's son, but it's still like we're still in creation. So this is just like to me a sideshow. Now, do I
Yeah.
live like that? No, I do not live like that. I live, on the fence most of the time. So
Right.
anyway, go ahead, more.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, like so I pretty much my code name or whatever you call it is you are my mirror. So whatever I'm looking at in something in somebody else is me. Whatever's pissing me off or making me particularly happy because I got my way, that's what's going on in me. That's my
Yeah.
stuff. So, okay. When we dream at night, we, the dreamer, are reflected in the various symbols of the dream. It is your dream, after all, split off parts of our thought system. The same is true of relationships in our waking dreams. This is why when we heal relationships and see everyone as sharing the same purpose, we are integrating our own split minds. My relationship with you is not what needs healing because your body and mine are both projections of my mind. What is healed is my relationship with myself. When I choose the ego as my teacher, I am choosing a thought system of separation, fragmentation, attack, and pain. When I choose Jesus, I am choosing a thought system that reflects perfect oneness. And so in healing my relationship with the people in my life, with family members high on the list, I am recalling the projections of my split off self, recognizing they are the same. This promotes my mind's unification, which is the ultimate healing. So wait a minute, I can sleep and read at the same time, apparently. I am recalling, so wait a minute. With family members high on the list, I am recalling the projections of my split off self, whatever I accuse them, I first accused myself of, recognizing they are the same. This provides, this promotes my mind's unification, which is the ultimate healing. So I always have to remember what if I'm arguing with my husband, what I accuse him of, I first accused myself of. So,
Yeah, and I mean, it could be a different form, right? Or is it the
oh
same
yeah,
form?
whoa, it changes all the time. That's why, that's why it's
Right.
so
It's so tricky. Like
confusing.
it's actually ingenious. It's an ingenious thought system
Yeah,
because look what
So,
it's done.
so think about this. Think about it this way. They are me. I am projecting them. They do not exist as a separate entity. What I see is a projection of my own thoughts. So if I say, oh, he's a real, she's a real drama queen, he's a real whiner, he is always playing the victim, all of those things, that is my projection on them. So
yeah,
I'm going to look at them and I'm going to see how that's true. I'm going to make it true by interpreting whatever they say or do to be exactly what I project them to be. So, the person may say, "Oh man, my back aches," and I'm thinking in my mind, "Yep, you're really a whiner. I don't think your back hurts any more than mine does." And then I'm looking at that person and I'm projecting basically who I think they are and what I think they're doing. I'm giving them a motive. I'm making up an idea about who they are and what they are. And then I'm attacking them by by defining them as being something that they're not. It's all my definition. It's all me. And
yeah.
there's nothing else, it's not only, and I love you are not, you are my mirror, Marcy, because that's how I always think about you. I your Marcy. Anyway, that's exactly what it is. Whatever I think I see is myself.
Yeah,
So, that's why, I see my children, oh, but they're victims. I feel sad for them. I worry about them. I'm afraid what's going to happen to them. Why is that? Because I feel less than, I feel like I am that's me. It's my life. And I want to show you guys something real quick if y'all don't mind. This is from the book, the Sebastian's book that we've been reading, and I can't believe it. I just spent money at Amazon. I was planning not to do that, but it's
oh yeah, wait a minute, Lynn.
too late now.
Forgot all, yeah,
Jeff Bezos is gonna have to just
he'll get a little something from you.
exactly, a little something from me. Okay, so this is what Sebastian in excuse me, this book Resurrection Consciousness uh has to say uh, about what he calls transgenerational healing. Okay, so this is the healing that comes from that's healing our grandparents and our parents, and because all this obviously came from them before us. We are the we're following, we're having intergenerational suffering. And he says, "Beloved of my divine being, let us remember clearly that you participate in the redemption of the universe. You do so by becoming one with me through the healing of intergenerational suffering. That is the universal trauma that your soul embraces as an act of love, transforms it into an elevated consciousness. You do it so that all creation can return to the Father's house together with you. By healing your mind and heart, we heal that part of the universe that only you can heal in me and I in you. And again, why that is because it's my projection. I'm the only one who can heal it. So if what is being said here is well understood, it is that the grace to participate in universal healing is an act of endless mercy, transmuting the part that each soul is capable of healing in union with Christ by reason of its desire to be one with its divine mother in everything. This grace is realized in perfect union of the free will of the souls who deliberately chose to remain united forever in love with God. That's us. We are the ones who we have chosen to remain united forever in love with God, and by making that choice, we have said, I want to heal all of humanity, the whole shebang from the very beginning, from the tiny mad idea. And I can heal that because why? It's my projection. So then he says, let's see, you are a savior, as am I. You are redemption. You are resurrection and life because we are one in everything. Your being and my being are united. We are expiatory souls.
What
This,
the heck? I don't even know what that means.
what is this word? Make amends or reparation for guilt or wrongdoing. Their sin
Okay.
must be expiated by sacrifice. So we're here to make it right. We're here to make it right. So that's what this generation of people is. This is what you and I are. This is why we found A Course in Miracles, because we have made a vow to God that we're going to heal the sonship. So let's see, let me go back here real quick where he says that. Uh, let me remind you of something. By joining the world's redemption or atonement, you join Christ in a degree of union that makes its efforts all encompassing. This is how you become one in totality with God. If you did not take part as a blessed link in the chain of atonement, for that is what healing is, by collecting the transgenerational trauma in your soul to transmute it, then something from your divine source would not be in you or you in her. That would not be union. It would not be total unity. So this is what we're talking about here, right? Parents and children, how we're taking this transgenerational trauma that we're experiencing. And I know you, Sharon, have experienced. I know you, Marcy. I know me, Lynn. We've all experienced the trauma of the previous generations. It's up to us to transmute it and bring it to uh, uh, deliverance, basically. Bring it to the atonement. So,
Yeah.
uh, so that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about parents and children. I think that's exactly what we're talking about here. And I may be wrong, and may have a different idea. Sharon, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. First off, I want to say that your whole talk today, both of you, was extraordinary. Second, what I believe now is that we are being called to go deeper. And you know how the course will talk about certain things, and it gets a little harder in the when things start to, because we are getting, you know, our great grandparent, this is people that never healed that belief. Because Ramana Maharshi said that you don't come back, you get beliefs that haven't been dealt with yet, or something like that. So what you say is just all wisdom, and it's just beautiful. I do agree that it's, we signed up for this on some level. We're not people, we're just beings. So, how would we remember? So the whole point, and what I was telling and teaching myself this morning was, number one, it's time to take this commitment, Sharon. You can't waste your time and keep going back and back and back. And the other thing is, what the hell am I afraid of? Like, Do I really feel that unworthy that I don't want peace all the time? That's ridiculous. That's
No,
all.
but all-encompassing love could be scary if what your background is other things.
Right. And
Is all of
especially
us.
that, right, this is a mean ego gets suspicious and then the viciousness starts coming out because it doesn't know. And it's like, it's a survival mechanism. So it wants to survive. So it's a gentle process. But I think it's like what Lynn was saying about the parents and children, it's always conflicted. If it's not conflicted, then how could it heal? You know, these are our thoughts. We are built in duality. We hate and we love. So that's all. Anyway, somebody else take over. Lynn, you could do it. I don't want to read. I want to listen.
Oh, I was going to tell my little story of the day.
Yes.
Um, so I get up super early because I think I'm driving Grace to school. And then Mark comes in and says, "Do you need your car today?" And I'm like, "What? What's up with that?" And he's like, he said somebody slashed his tires. And of course, I believe that. And then I go into my story. Well, I didn't go into my story till after that. But anyway, so Grace had to take the bus to school. But first of all, I'm feeling bad because I can't take her with my car, but I'm also feeling good because I don't want to really be driving her anymore. She's in high school. I'm like, oh my God. So it was just because of winter and the darkness and all that other stuff. I wasn't too thrilled about it, but so I drove her in the winter. But anyway, so then as the morning goes on, I'm like, well, why would somebody slash his tires even though maybe his tires weren't slashed? And then it's like, oh my God, I post so damn much on Facebook. Look what I did. I'm now, like we're now victims because I'm such an important being in the world. And somebody from down, the other side that I'm not into sent somebody to slash. I mean, it was just crazy talk in my head, just so I could blame something else. Like, oh, we're the innocent victims, So, and I would do that with my kids too. If they yell at me, or if they're mad at me, or if I'm mad at them, it just goes round and round all day long. This crazy thinking.
Well, why do we listen? That's what I want to know. Why do we listen?
Because I don't want
I
the
listen.
love. I don't want
What?
I don't want the love.
It's a
It's
very
like
deep belief. Yeah.
it's like I feel I'm undeserving in some way of touching, but like the reason I've stuck with DU so long is that when I would sit down and write a letter to somebody else, not me, I would get in that zone and I'm like, well, where the hell am I now? This is like amazing. So I know it's possible to be there consistently. I mean, Marcy doesn't know it, something knows that. But so it's like the experience attracts, but then the ego's like, oh no, we're not going to disappear into that. I'm not going there.
You know, March, you think it's you that Terry wrote. I do think it's me. Okay. For the most part. So when you think it's you, you're like, well, that's me. But
Right.
there's nothing there. I mean, we're hooked up to all these chakras. It's like this, these lights
Mm.
of energy. But we're just formless beings.
Yeah, it's what's interesting, Sharon, is we think it's each other also. So when I look at you, I think, this is Sharon, and I give a whole idea in my mind of what you are. And then and in my mind, because of my experience in my life, I relate you to one of my sisters. And so, I'm looking at you like you're one of my sisters, and so you say something to me that, I don't want my sister to say. And I will try to correct you because, that I see that that's an extension of me. What you are is an extension of me. And so, I want you to think the same way I do or whatever. I don't know. I want validation from you. I want to feel like because I always felt like my sisters were very distant from me. I really only had one that I really had any kind of relationship with. And then after she passed away, I, have relationship with the only living sister that I have now. All the rest of them are gone. But every single one of them I felt rejected by. And so, if I see you as my sister and then you say something that isn't approving of me, I go back into that whole spiral of being rejected by my sisters. And it's it
This is brilliant. It really is brilliant.
so this is
Because
to heal.
this
This
is what I really wanted. We're looking at how insane we are. I mean, this is pure insanity. Because the truth is so simple, but I'm addicted. I'm addicted. Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm addicted to the ego.
I'm addicted to myself and my
Mhm.
thoughts. I was telling Sharon the other day that when when my mom passed, and I did love my parents, but I saw them as very critical and controlling. And the first thought that came to me, not the first thought, because I was really sad when she passed, because I was right there. Um, but it was like something in my head went back to the Wizard of Oz and said, "Hail, Dorothy, the Wicked Witch is dead." And I'm like, where the fuck is that coming from?
Oh, yeah, you're guilty for thinking that.
Yeah, yeah. I did a real number on myself.
Oh my.
But then I project myself and go, yeah, well, do I want to be here doing that to somebody else? No, I don't really, no, I don't want to be like that. But then I see I am being like that sometimes, you know, the whole thing with the dishes in your room and the da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry. I had to go on and laugh.
totally,
So that's what I was just reading about in that other book, in the Resurrection Consciousness book, is that intergenerational trauma
yeah,
that has to
yeah,
be because we'll just keep it going and going and going and going.
yeah. Well,
So
the
it,
trauma in my mother, oh, I was interrupting. Can I interrupt or no?
oh,
The the thing with my mom was she was home when her father committed suicide and she heard the gunshots. I don't know what she saw. And then the whole story has so many different stories to what happened. Was he murdered? Was he not murdered by? It would have been my great grandfather who would have murdered him because he had plenty of reasons and in ego to do that. But so, of course, you're going to be critical and controlling. You don't want anything bad to happen. You got to keep everything safe. That's where she was. So something in me hated that. And then I find myself trying to run the whole show here.
yeah, because even though you weren't there, you were there. Even though you weren't there, you were there.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about with mothers and their daughters and their we're I was with my mother the moment she formed ovaries because all the eggs that she would ever make were right
Mm.
there in her
Yeah.
ovaries. I
Yeah.
was those eggs. Same thing. She was in my grandmother. I mean, so we have at least three levels of generation that are part of our actual physical experience
Yeah.
as humans in the world, and so, you know, and I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but this is the body, this is the ego, this is the world. It is a projection
Yeah.
of our thinking, and that is why we have to look at these things, because if we don't, then we're just going to go do the same thing. And the next thing your kids are going to be doing that, and and
Right.
their kids are going to be doing that, and yeah. So stop it now.
Stop it. Stop it. That's why I talk to myself so much around here. People want to know who I'm talking to. It's just me.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
It's hilarious to see that we all pretty much have the same defenses, and it's interesting that at least for me now, I realize that this, in fact, I'm shocked. Like, what do you like? Obviously, I think Sharon is going to give me something. I think she's really going to finally like whatever it is that she wants. And you know what happens after that? The shoe drops.
Yeah.
So it's like, or like when you want to overeat. Oh, I'll just eat all this. Tomorrow I'll go on my diet. Well, you're already, it's like the saying, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. So it's like, slow down. That's my message to myself today. Slow down. Slow the mind down.
I love it.
Anyway,
Mm.
yeah, because it's just too rapid for me. Do you see how mean it is? It's so mean, too. I mean, think about it. Like the thoughts you have for others are your thoughts. So it's a very mean, mean mind, full of memories of all victim and victim. It's just crazy. It's insane.
But
Yeah.
it works. It works for what it does. Keeps everybody separate, even
Well,
though
and
we're
it
not
keeps
separate.
us in the prison.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what keeps us in the prison is by engaging in we are as much a part of it as the guards, you know?
Yeah. And something in me wants those guards there, making sure I don't get out.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's the ego preservation strategy is to make sure that we do not get out. And ego's going to do about anything it can to keep up to the point of killing us. The ego wants you dead. That,
Yeah.
that's how it works.
And Carrie says here, this is death row.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's see, where are we at? You want me to read a little bit? We have
Sure.
about 13 more minutes before the next one. So he says, we can now see why relationships are so important. They are the only means of getting in touch with the real problem. When A Course in Miracles talks about special and holy relationships, even though the context is usually relationships with people, what is really meant is that there is only one special relationship with our ego and one holy relationship with Jesus or the Holy Spirit. We project either one onto the people of in our lives. Thus, it is not our relationships with others that have to be healed, for they are just classrooms in which we learn where the real healing needs to be. Our mistaken decision for the ego. Now we realize the true problem, and our anger is simply a reminder, if we are open to it, that we chose the wrong teacher. And that's it. Chose the wrong teacher. We do not need special relationships with people. There are no people. This is the bottom line. For puppets do not need to forgive other puppets. Our relationships, which we think are real because we think we are bodies, are only projections, the shadowy fragments of our special relationship with the part of the self we call the ego, and which identifies with separation, attack, and conflict. However, once the veil of forgetfulness falls, we no longer know we have a mind. That's what Sharon was talking about. And so we need the relationships we perceive in the mindless body to remind us of the mind, the home of the problem and its solution. So this is it. It's that double shield of oblivion that we've put up that keeps us from actually seeing and knowing that I have a mind and that I am a mind. And
Yeah, that,
I have a kingdom I must rule. Yeah, go on. Was that Sharon?
I was going to say that this was a fabulous sharing today because it just hits on every chord. When at least for me, I realize there's something that doesn't want this has been in charge. And then, it's just this fear of love, but it's probably so deep because, I know what human love, but this is not human love. This is really neutrality. It's all is well. That's what it is. All is well. So it's like joining like this is extremely therapeutic because we're learning together. There's only one mind, too, and when I speak from my ego, I'm not in control of that. Those are patterns from my family, and what I know about my family is they were insane because all people are insane. So it's kind of like what Ken really tries to do is tell us if we continue this, we're going to suffer. Do we really want that? Anyway, over to the next person.
All right, I'll turn the page. Marcy, do you want to read?
Sure. Once more, no relationship is more fraught with guilt and anguish than the parent-child relationship, because it is the closest informed to our relationship with God. Since that relationship is closed off to us, we need to experience that same conflict with the authorities in our lives, beginning with our parents. As children, we then grow up and become parents or parental figures for others. And so the relationship with God is acted out over and over and over, and will continually be acted out until we bring it back to the only special relationship, our dependence on the ego. When we are finally aware of this, all relationships are healed, for the one problem has been brought to the one answer.
So yeah, so I guess yeah, the whole idea being that I mean that's what we're here for is the healing. To heal the that intergenerational trauma that Sebastian was talking about and bring about the atonement. And that's the only way we can do that is by forgiving ourselves, our families, our parents, our children, forgiving our children for acting out our story. That's what they're doing right there is, whatever my greatest fear for my children was, that's what they would do. Worried they have bad relationship, they'd have bad relationships. Worried that they would get in trouble with the law, while my son went to prison. Worried, I mean, whatever it is that I'm worried about, hoping never happens, those are the things that happen. And I mean, don't worry about that you're going to curse your children because you have fears about their lives, but just recognize that it's there to show you that fear.
Yeah.
So unless you look at that and heal it, it will present itself in your life. That, because we need to learn that lesson. So if we
Well,
don't learn it by experience, we're going by choosing, we learn it by experience.
I think I'm really working hard on this, or not. I'm really working hard at blocking this, but I'm trying to get past it. Let's put it that way. And there's no I to get past it. But when Keith says, welcome it, welcome that when there's conflict, welcome when you're stuck. I wasn't getting it, but now it makes much more sense to me now. Because first I get to look, I get stopped in my tracks. I think it's about them. And then I'm like, after a certain period of time, I'm like, well, what about that was me? And what was theirs? What was mine? And it's very odd, but it's very healthy. I think it's probably the healthiest thing I've ever done is gone, oh, okay, maybe I should look at what I push away when I don't want to, understand my husband or understand my kids. And if they're me, if I put myself in their shoes, it's a whole different story, you know. So I am starting to just welcome that total discomfort. It's just like, oh, this is an awful feeling. Yeah, it is, but I must have wanted it to protect myself.
Yeah, and you do want it. We do want it, and because we make it up.
Yeah.
If we didn't want it, we wouldn't see it that way. If I didn't want to be upset or afraid of, my child, I was just reading an article about that little boy that he had ADHD and something else. Nothing that was, anything terrible, but his parents didn't like it, so they took him to a place where they had a hyperbaric chamber because this lady
Mm.
said, "Oh, we can heal him or cure him by putting him in a oxygen saturated place," and the thing blew up and
Oh
the
my
kid died. And the people are going to jail now and the parents are devastated, all that kind of stuff. And why? Because they wanted to try to cure something that they saw as being uh, problematic in their child, that he had ADHD. And so, they, basically, I'm sure they're going to feel guilty for the rest of their lives for, putting them in a situation where that was a dangerous piece of equipment that shouldn't have been being used for that particular purpose. But it's the same thing as I have a friend who had epilepsy, and he would have seizures, and his dad was embarrassed
God.
because his son had seizures. And this was back in the 60s. And in the 60s, they were really liking to play around with people's brains, I'll tell you that. They
Mm.
took out half of his brain. They removed half of his brain, one whole side of his brain, thinking that would stop the seizures, because they didn't want him to be having those seizures. Well, he still had seizures, but now he only has a half a brain, and it has limited him in a lot of ways. So this is, and what it was, that was a projection of, what I think is wrong on my child, and my child is being now manipulated to try to make me feel better, to give me make me feel better about myself. And of course we think it's going to make the child have a happier life too, but that's all projection.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
whose brain is really messed up in that story, you know?
Yeah. It's
I can't remember what president did that to his daughter. Does anybody remember?
Oh, that was, it wasn't the president, it was, but it was, I believe, was one of the sisters of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of JFK's sisters
Yeah.
You know
that,
what's so interesting? Like I found this what you just said, Lynn, was just so perfect and beautiful. When we get into a place, there's a deepening, but I see also in me as we're talking just a little bit of resistance because there's a part that's still seemingly there. But when you were talking, why would we talk about politics? Like, why? It's a distraction from fear. Wait a minute, hold on. What was that? Hold on. Oh, it felt like somebody was coming in my house. Not interesting how fear just got in my mind. Did you see that, girls? I
No.
heard like a
How can
sliding
we see,
door.
how can we see it? You're on you're no
no,
picture.
I can't.
Oh, let me show you. Well, no, it was right here. I'll show you now. Wait. Here. Now
Oh,
the wind. So it was right here, and my heart dropped. And I just got done saying to you girls that look how quickly the ego comes in.
right.
But rather than talk about it, it's almost like, oh, welcome that, because that feeling keeps coming up around
Yeah.
my heart when I'm scared.
Yeah.
Welcome it.
But Sharon, you know how words are.
What do you mean? Words like
Just because you want to welcome it, but you're
right.
still fighting welcoming it, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's how I
It's
really
totally
make progress.
okay because you now have a goal set.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's so
I
funny because,
found this so
oh,
therapeutic today. Thank you.
yeah, what's funny is, I'm thinking about Rafi, and what does Rafi always say? Can you welcome that feeling?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is, not reject, because what we reject, what we resist persists. And
Correct.
what we reject, it just shows us of what we are. And so welcome it because and as Rafi says, it all comes up to be healed.
And
The
yet
whole purpose of it.
I hear it very differently when Rafi says it than when Keith says it. You know,
I know, but it's the same thing.
it is exactly the same thing.
It's not different.
Mark, I think that's a distraction. My mind does that all the time. It
Yeah,
compares. That's just part of
yeah,
the comparative mind.
yeah.
It does it without, it's on autopilot.
Yeah.
But